porch on, I would say probably more so like the top right-hand pictures, what it looked like kind of when we moved in. It had the pink salmon color, yeah, salmon color, but it didn't have clapboard on it, it had the shingles on it. So, yeah, you can get an idea of what it looks like as it progresses through time. And I appreciate the story about putting the porch back on, because I thought that I would like to see the porch go back on, but we'll have to see what happens to that. Okay, so as we are getting ready to get our history put together, we have to start doing a little bit of homework. Remember I said I was a teacher, so I like handing out homework to people. So one of the things that's going to help you is to become more familiar with some of the architectural terms. And no, don't worry, I'm not going to start reading through all of them so that you have them. But you can pull up any, computer program on architectural terms, and you can sit there and study. Or I'm sure we're in a facility right here that probably has architectural books that you could check out and take home. That would give you a lot of the same details. But it will tell you what some of the different features are, different types of things that you're going to be looking for, just all of those things to get ready when you start looking at, getting hints and clues on where, how did this house get put together, when did it get put together, that type of thing. Another thing that you might want to take a look at are some of the guides that have the different types of architectural styles. Again, as I mentioned, Marshland has a lot of different architectural styles. We have Victorian, we have Cape Cod, we have four squares, we have ranch styles, we have, just a lot of different types of houses, some of which kind of were built by people that came from different countries, and so they're going to have like maybe a Dutch colonial twist to them, or some type of a Spanish theme or whatever. But again, you might want to just kind of become familiar with some of the different styles of houses. And then even as you're driving around town, oh, she talked about that, I remember that, or that's a different style that I really haven't paid attention to before. I mean, we have 8-sided houses here in town. It's kind of like round houses. I think those are pretty cool. We have the tall A-frame houses. I mean, just a lot of different styles. And again, depending on the time frame that they were built, will also reflect on the type of architecture that's being used, if it's more modern or more historic. Another thing that you might want to pay attention to are some of the construction types. And you can see that, there's all different kinds of nails that you can use for different purposes in the building. But specifically the different styles that are in that little diagram down in the corner, and I know it's hard to see. But again, depending on the shape, the slant of the roof, if it's got equal sides, or if there's more than 4 sides, are there, is it rectangular, is it square, does it have a different type of shape to it? And then you look at the roof. Is it just a V roof? Is it, a hip roof that has the different angles that come on it? All those different types of things you may want to be looking at, because that will sometimes help you decide or figure out the age of the house. Another thing that you might want to be familiar with is mail order homes. And we have a couple good examples here in town. If ever you're out on a drive, out on West Blodgett Street, 601 West Blodgett is a good example of a Sears house. Sears was a mail order catalog, and you could go in between 1908 and 1940. They actually sold between 70 and 75,000 homes. What they were kits all put together. You saw the catalog, just like you go in and do your Christmas shopping and order this and order that. You would look at the different styles of homes and decide what you wanted, and then you purchased it, and they would send you the kit in truckloads to build the house. This happens to be what was called the Marshfield house. Believe it or not, I thought that was really cool. They had one that was specifically called the Marshfield house.
And the price was?
Yeah, well, okay. When you go to the website, and this is the one site that I didn't get put on the handout, so if you have something to write with, the HTTP address with www.searsarchives.com, that's the address to get to the website. If you notice over on the left-hand side here, it will give you the same, it talks about what the Sears modern home is. It will talk about the chronology of the homes and different things. But the part that's really unique when you go on the website, if you go down to that second highlighted section that says images of homes, it's broken down by groups of years. So like that first group is the kits that they had available between 1908 and 1914. And then they go 1915 to 1920, whatever. All you have to do is click on one of those, and when you click on it, you will get something that looks like this. It will be there's the rest. But you can just keep scrolling down through the house, or through the list. You'll see a picture of what the house is. They have a name, and then they have the price. So like that top one is $782 to $1,995. That was back, again, remember, 1908 to 1914, okay?
What year was the Marshfield?
I can go back real quick. Maybe it doesn't have it on, I don't see it on there. I'm sorry. So what you do when you get to this page, if you're curious if you have a Sears house, and I know Ruth Voss, who owned the house that's over on West Blodgett, she actually was able to get a hold of one of the old catalogs, and she was able to find her house in the catalog. She didn't build it, but she was able to find the information about the house. So what you do when you get to the site, you just click on one of the pictures. Let's talk about the Hamilton, because we had Hamiltons. That's kind of a familiar name here in Marshfield. That was between $1,023 and $2,385. If you click on the picture of the house, that same sheet will come up. And here, this particular one, with the style and everything, they were saying it was like $2,000. With special finishes and things on, it could go up to $3,000, whatever. But a 10-room residence, can you imagine?
When did Sears get out of the house thing?
I think in the 1940s, I believe.
Oh, that long?
1908 to 1940.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
But there are numerous houses around here. And I think there are a lot of Sears houses out there that people don't even realize are Sears houses. Because as I'm looking at some of these styles, they're very, I could probably drive around town and point out right where some of these different styles were. I like the dormers on the top of this one in particular. I think, that's part of that third story up in the attic, so you'd have a little bit of light up there.
It's got two chimneys in it.
It has two chimneys, yeah.
Unusual.
So yeah, you'd be able to look at the floor plan. You could make changes to it. You could move things around, flip-flop, or however, but you could basically make it your own. They would take the order, then they would put that kit together, and then they'd bring it in well, probably by railroad, and then from railroad onto a truck, and then to the site where it was going to
I
be.
can't imagine how much it would cost today to do that.
Where did Sears have this factory, or where did they make these, in Chicago, or where did they come from to get, I mean,
I think they came from different places around. I don't know, which do you,
I don't know.
the catalog is out of Chicago, that I know, but again, beyond that, I'm not. If you go on their website, you might be able to figure that out a little bit more. But anyway, just be familiar that there were these types of things going on. I know in the 70s, my sister-in-law and my brother ordered a house from up by Spencer, I think it was. It came in two parts. They put the basement in, they moved one part in, set it down, moved the other part in, moved it over, and hooked it together and finished off the siding in between. That was a type of prefab house as well. So whether they went from the kits, and there may even be companies that still do something like this now.
My folks built their house in 1964 in Kelshed, and there was an open field to the west of it. And about 3 or 4 years after we were there, Jerry Harding and his wife Peggy put up a house, and it was a kit. And I remember those people that knew my dad, there was a certain way of building things, and that's the way it was supposed to be done.
Yeah.
And there were pieces that didn't match when we were putting it up.
Got something left over.
Yeah, he would bring that up from time to time. The house burned eventually, so it's not there anymore, but even in the 60s and early 70s, they were still selling kits for houses that people could put together. So.
Yeah.
and these supposed the kits included everything, like windows and
They
did.
fixtures
And
and cabinets.
And again, it was based on what the customer wanted.
Sure, that's true.
So if you wanted a certain style of window,
Yeah.
that's what would come with the kit, and it would be, the instructions and everything would be cut for those windows. So they basically had to really figure out ahead of time what they needed for that house, and then they just kind of bundled it all together. So it was kind of a unique thing. So again, be aware that those things are out there. This is a really cool site just to go on, and the houses that are available just to 1914 goes on for quite a ways. I don't even have all of them. I just got the top ones on there. So it would give you background over when you pulled up that specific house. It would give you, like I said, floor plans, and then it would give you other information that you could choose from, types of finishes and things that you could order, different types of siding, different colors, all of those different things. So you could really make it your own, which is kind of cool.
And who would be the verifying agency like that in need of house with the Sears or like some of these?
It may be on your abstract or your title. It might be on there from when it was built.
I would say the newspaper would probably record where it came from.
If there was a house being built,
Building permit.
that might be it too. If we could, if those are available. But from back in the late 1800s, that might be a challenge. Hopefully you're not gonna put the work into researching if it's not your house. But I volunteer with the city on the Historic Preservation Commission. And so a lot of times we are researching houses just to find information about them if they could technically be considered historic or whatever. And so sometimes, especially when we get a little bit deeper down into the process and want to maybe put it on the national registry or the local registry, then we have to make sure that we do get permission from the owner, that it's okay for us to keep digging and finding information about the house. So make sure that you do that. Other things that you can do to find information, attics are usually a treasure trove. There can be things up there, who knows? I mean, there may be old newspapers up there, there might be old letters from so-and-so, so that you would have names of people that lived there. You could, find out what was happening at the time. Just, check that attic out. There also may be things found in the attic that were removed from the house, inside the house or outside of the house at one point in time, and they didn't want to throw it away, so where did it go? Up into the attic.
Old woodwork, I found old woodwork in my attic that they had taken out.
French doors, people find.
French doors, yeah. You'll find all kinds of things. So letters, even journals, pictures might be up there. Again, kind of, and not only, we'll probably talk about it a little bit later too, but if these walls could talk, some of the walls have secrets hidden behind them or down in the floorboards. So I know when we were doing some remodeling in the house, we had the bathroom upstairs. We had taken the flooring out, and we found marbles, glass marbles, and we found some other things in there. But again, you might find things that would help date the house if you don't know specifically when it was built, if it's not on the title or the abstract. So just all kinds of things. Get to know what kind of resources are in your community. Now, I had to put a plug in there for the walking tours, and we started doing some driving tours. On the back side of the vertical cabinet right here where the globe is, on the back side there are 12 different of these brochures for the walking tours, and then also for historic houses, architectural style of houses, and then also historic non-residential, so we like the businesses downtown or different places around, and then also the architectural style of some of the businesses. And so the style of some of the churches are discussed and highlighted in those brochures. So if you haven't looked at those, make sure that you grab some and take a look at them sometime. The commission has also put out a resource directory, which has a lot of information in some of the websites that I'm sharing with you tonight, but also different historical societies, historical groups in the area that might have information, where you can find information, and all of those types of things. So that's something that if you want a copy of that, let me know, and I will find one for you. Probably not tonight, but I can get it to you. Another thing that we have here in Marshville, we have a genealogy group. And one of the things that the genealogy group did, they started posting some of the things about the historical houses. So if you look in the upper right-hand corner, there's something that's called the QR codes of historical Marshville. If you click on that tab, you come to this page. And that 100 block of South Central, there's a map in there of back in the early 1900s of what businesses were located in there. It's kind of cool. You see the little boxes going across for the alphabet, kind of broke up on them. Those are actually individual, stories, and I don't even know if there's over 100 some stories in there right now of different people or different locations, different businesses, things like that. The house that we were living in at 301 South Cedar was actually known as the Klein Heights house. So if you would click on the page, or the G to L, which is where the K falls, you would find the story. Now, if you were researching a house, how cool would it be to find a story already about your house? So, I mean, there's a lot of different places to look to find information. You talked about when we got the house, and then we went back into when we thought that it first got built and those types of things. We've learned some since then. But yeah, you don't know where you're going to find information. Another place that you can look is the National Register of Historic Places. Again, not all homes are historic, but a lot of the old ones may be, for one reason or another, whether it be their location, whether it be the people that lived in that house, whether it be an event or something that took place in that house or by that house or whatever. So we do have a number of houses and buildings here in Marshfield that are either on the local registry, the state of Wisconsin registry, and we do have a number that are on the national registry, including our 5 historic districts that we have here in town. When you go on the website, again, they make it kind of easy. Because that is national, they have, the whole United States, so you can click on Wisconsin, and then you can also go in and click on county, and then by county, you can go in by city and research and find out what houses are listed for that specific city. 2 of the places on the National Register right now are the Round Barn down at the fairgrounds and the Band Shell in Columbia Park. Those are just 2 of the sites, but those are the ones that popped up when I was doing the research. And again, this particular site basically will help you with, you can go anywhere, but you can break it down into just Wisconsin. Like I said, you can go by counties or whatever. Another site, and I think, Shelby, this was the one that you were saying that you weren't familiar with at all. This is actually travelwisconsin.com. It's on their website, and it's 25 Wisconsin historical sites. So it might be a location that's important for one reason or another. I think when you actually go to the site, when I clicked on it, because I was checking links to make sure that they were working, I think they reduced it to 20. So I don't know if we lost some along the way or if they've just kind of rotated and put some new ones on, but there are at least 20 there that you'll be able to look at. So again, another place to find information about your house. I have to make sure that we not only talk about the library, because we are sitting in a wealth of information just in this room. We have Marshfield histories, we have county histories, we have personal histories that we talk about the houses that people lived in. So again, your local library is an invaluable source, no matter where you're at. If you have any type of historical associations or societies, we have 2 here in Marshfield. We have the Upham House over on West 3rd, I believe, West 3rd, yeah. And then, of course, in the basement of the old library, kind of the corner over, we have the Marshfield Heritage Museum, which is another place to go and try and find some information. Maybe not a lot of information that you can research, but it doesn't hurt to look or to ask as far as what type of information they have. And again, I put the little circle in the center is for the commission here in Marshfield, the Historic Preservation Commission, because they are also a source where you can find information, or at least they can help you find information. So another thing that you're going to want to collect as you're trying to get things from all these different places is a copy of the title or the abstract or whatever, is available. There is a website that you can actually go to and see if they have a copy of it. It's a place to check out. Another place that would have information about the history of the house, not necessarily written out in a story form, but through the ages, they would have in the Register of Deeds office, they would have the information that took place as far as when it was sold, to whom, by whom, all of those types of information. So you could check and see when different things were done. Another thing that I didn't mention when we were talking about trying to find information about the house is another tremendous source right here in this room is the stack of books behind me. These are the tax rolls for the city of Marshfield, and then also for a lot of the surrounding townships and little communities, basically townships, I think. We don't have every year, but they are located in other places as well, and other places may have ones that aren't here. So if you're looking for a specific year that it's not here, it might be over in the archives on the UW campus in Stevens Point, or there might be something down in Madison at the Historical Society. Usually they delve most of that stuff back more locally, so if it was down there and they were trying to put it out someplace, it would probably end up at the archives over in Stevens Point. And I know they have lots of tax roll books over there as well.
I'm forgetting, is title abstract the same that you use at interchangeably?
Help me out on this one.
I don't know that they're the same.
Okay.
That was a piece of paper that says that you own it.
That you
Yeah,
own
you
it,
get the title.
whereas
Purchase
the
a house.
abstract is probably going to give you more of the history
Okay.
of it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Yeah, we all have a title, but we don't have abstract.
right. And sometimes the bank keeps the abstract if you have a mortgage on it until you've paid.
And now people are getting abstract insurance now, and they're not getting the actual abstract themselves.
But again, look different places. You never know where they might pop up. Another site that a lot of people don't go to, and I know it's really hard to see on here, it says property records for the city of Marshfield, Wood County. If you go to the city of Marshfield's government site, their website on the internet, and I think it's on there, and you go to the city assessors section, you will be able to do a search either in the city or surrounding townships and specifically pull up information like this on any location. I can go in, you can go in and pull up information almost on anything through the town. They have it online. They used to have more information, but they've kind of streamlined the information that they have, so there's not as much available as there used to be. But it will give you an idea of, first of all, who currently owns the house. It will give you an idea of possibly when there were different things added to the house, not necessarily what, but it will give you ideas that, there was a building
Renovation.
Something, or a
Yeah.
porch, or.
a permit or something, that would be listed. And that's a good sign that there was some type of change going on or something added or whatever, modernized, who knows. But it will tell you those types of things, so it's kind of good to know. And it will also obviously give you the idea of what the house is worth. And most of them do have some type of a mild, simple floor plan, so you can kind of see the shape of the house. I know like ours, you don't realize that it's as long and skinny as it is, because, you know, you look at the front and it's wider in the front, but then the back part of the house gets very skinny. It's only like the dining room, and that's as wide as the house is back there. And it has the porch that goes off of it. So it will give you an idea, again, for information. I briefly mentioned here that there are a lot of different books about the community, specifically Marshfield or Wood County. A couple of the other things that are listed there are the intensive surveys that the city does. Those are really good because they have experts come in and go through, especially certain sections of the town that have questions, you know, if they have historical value or if there's something going on that they need to make aware to the population or whatever. So there's a lot of things you can find out, and one of the things in there is the style of many of the homes, if they would, you know, if they are on the National Register or should be, or the state or local or whatever. But again, that was one of the things that we've looked at the commission, because if they suggest in the intensive survey that something should be listed historically, that is one of the sites that we try to work on and get listed.
I think that happened a number of years ago when the State Historical Society was here, and then they declared that West Fifth.
West Fifth and
Yeah,
Sixth, and then Park Street.
yeah, I went to a presentation with a friend, and they were really excited about Weingarten Factory, I remember at that time, because it's a, you know, a factory to be that well cared for, intact, it's unheard of, so now it's like, oh, what'll happen
And
to
now
it?
we're not sure what's happening to it.
Right,
Yeah.
no, they were over the moon about that factory.
There are people over the moon about having the opportunity to look at it too, because of the potential development.
I hope so, yeah, I know that there's a whole blight concern for that area, like closing trees out.
I'm gonna take the opportunity too, while I have the slide
Sure.
up here. I don't want to embarrass you or your husband, but you guys have had your hand in a lot of those books.
Yeah.
So many of this stuff has been preserved because of your guys' commitment to this, so I commend you for that.
The green book and the red book on this side, there's a a lot of work in those. If you haven't looked at those, you really do need to spend.
We have several copies of those that you'll check out. Some of them don't, but there's many copies, so that those
A
check
lot
out.
of family stories, business stories, again, just a wealth of information if you're trying to find something. Okay, another place that you can go to is a website called newspapers.com. You can use it here in the library, right?
Yes and no.
Yes and no?
We don't really have access to it, we sort of go through Dawn a little bit to get,
Okay.
but
The library has a site called ProQuest Wisconsin Historical Newspapers that includes Marshfield. So if you're doing Marshfield homes, if you want to use the ProQuest collection on the Marshfield library page, or have a subscription to newspapers.com. Newspapers.com can't make the Gannett papers available to everybody, and they won't do it for libraries. So that's why you can't use this in particular at the library right now.
And when he
Someday.
said Gannett, the Marshfield News Herald is owned by Gannett
Gannett.
Papers. So
this is a paid subscription, but.
this is a paid subscription. It's not real expensive, is it?
You don't get a bill.
I think it's more than like Amazon or something.
It's 150 or something.
Okay.
The thing is, if somebody's looking for a house history and wants to do a search using newspapers.com, come to
Come
the
in on
library on
Tuesday.
Tuesday. I'll look for it for you. And if not, I can show you how to use the ProQuest Wisconsin collection, and it works doesn't work the same, but it works just as well. So,
There's also a couple of homes on Blodgett Street, going towards the hospital from Sacred Heart Catholic Church, I mean, there's a rounded.
Oh, yeah,
Do
there's
you
a
mean-
couple nice houses over
Oh,
there.
yeah, the rounded, it's like a casino, it's, you know.
There's some beautiful homes
There's some
over
homes
there.
right in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe there's a house over there that has a plaque that says this is a Sears house.
Yes.
I walk
That
a
is,
lot and I
that is
feel
the
like,
601.
oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's,
601.
it's
East Blodgett?
East Blodgett.
West.
West
West
Blodgett.
Blodgett,
Yeah, 601 West Blodgett. It's the second from the end. There's one other house.
yeah. And some Campbell houses next to it, the big one.
It's a Sears house.
But it is a Sears house.
Do you have a lot of success to, like going through the person? Like if you know the name of the person from the abstract or something that was on
Some-
before?
Well, okay, we know who lived in the house prior to who we bought it from. I think, well, actually, it was, it's our 301 South
Oh,
Cedar.
yeah, we have that all the way back to,
Right, but we did contact the Kleinheitzes, or some of the members of the Kleinheitz family. And I think that's where we came up with the picture of the porch, wasn't it?
no, that was actually,
Or down in Madison.
George Reynolds lived in our house in 1904. There's a gentleman from out by Stratford who was interested in George Reynolds because he was a big Indian artifact collector. And so he was tracking him down. And when he tracked down the daughter who lived in the house, who lived in Washington, she sent a postcard to him that had 2 postcards to him of our house. And so that's where that came from.
Well, sometimes I would think even if the person was deceased, you could still find like factual things from newspapers, like for instance, in our house, it was like in the 40s it was built. And I researched a little bit of the previous owner and found out he was a doctor. And he literally had his office like in the second story of our house. And then everything made sense where this one room had like this desk that was curved and, you know, and they had like, yeah.
And there are houses here in town that were some of the original small hospitals or clinics.
Okay.
There's one over on Park Street.
Logic. The Park Street is a big one, but
But yeah, there.
That was Dr. Middleston.
Yes, yes. So when you go into newspapers.com, you can narrow your newspaper search by location. So I put in Marshfield. And then the papers, the Marshfield papers that it has in its collection and the dates that it has, because it might not have all of them. So it will have the dates that it has. And then you can go in and do a further search. Notice that in the upper right-hand corner, then I typed in the address. And I got 8,183 matches.
Oh, good, oh my goodness.
Wow.
so what did you do wrong?
What did I do wrong? Well, that's the next slide. I typed in the address, and there's the address. But because I got so many and you want to narrow it, what it will do in that 8,000, it will pull anything that has 301 Avenue or Cedar or Marshfield. I mean, it will pull them all. So when you put the quote marks around something, when you're doing the search, it will only look for that phrase. And when I did that, I went down to 89 matches. Much better. So you can start just, after you get to that point, you see the little samples of what the text is, the date of the paper, the page, whatever. You click on, for example, click on the article, it will pull it up so that you can see, and you can see where the 301 South Cedar is highlighted, so you can see on that whole page, rather than having to read through, where is it? It already has it highlighted, so you can find it really easy. And as we were talking, that was mentioned that when you're looking to find out who was in the house, this is an excellent way, because this will pull up. This was a little car accident that Anna Kleinheitz had. it will show up a lot of different things. The arrow popped up there because if you want to save it, all you have to do is click it. When you hit that button, it will have a little shadow that goes over, and you can stretch it out so you can make it fit whatever you want. And then you hit the save button and it will save that for you. You can send it to your email, you can save it to you, if you're doing it on your laptop or whatever, you can save it right to your laptop, you can send it through Facebook, you can send it a lot of different places. And when you send it, this is what it will look like. It's already, it has all the information on it, it's got the sourcing information, which is something that you really want to keep with the clippings so you know where you got it from. This is just, we're talking about all the different types of things you can find. These are just 20 of the 89 clippings, but you can see different people who are living in the house, what some of those students that were, the kids that were living there, what they were involved with, if there were people that were getting married, they're listed there. Just a lot of different things. This one with the kids playing on the lawn in front, the steps that are behind the little guy that's off on the right-hand side, that's the front of the house.
Oh, yes.
So, I mean, you can actually maybe see parts of the house depending on what is going on.
Actually, sometimes you can find the whole house. If someone's putting a house for sale and they have a picture of it, it will pull up the address, and if whatever picture is there, and you can copy it.
Which brings another thing that I didn't put in the PowerPoint. But he mentioned when a house is being sold, realtors listing it, they will go into the house and take pictures of each of the rooms from different angles. A lot of times those pictures stay on the website forever. Our house has been, that we're living in over on the west side, we've been in there now 5 years. And it's, all the pictures are still there. You can go in and search it on some of the different realtor sites. So again, if you're trying to get an idea of what houses look like, just go into any of the realtor sites, type in an address, and even if the house isn't for sale now, if it had been recently or within the last 5+ years, you may find rooms and everything that you want to know about that house.
I just wanted to say the house that Corey and Jeanette Thomas lived in, on over there on, is that Cherry Street by the fairgrounds for a while.
Yeah.
That house is a beautiful house. Just fabulous.
Another website where you can find lots of information is the Wisconsin Historical Society. They are located down in Madison. They have just a beautiful building. It's an old building on campus, but it's a beautiful building. But if you go on their website, there's a couple things in particular that I want you to pay attention to. The community history section, the exploring their collections, and then also the homes and properties. Those are 3 areas, and I'll show you real briefly. And you're going to have to tell me when I need to shut up.
You got 20
Yeah.
minutes before David talks.
Yeah, the little message will come on, then you'll need it.
Okay. So anyway, the community history, when you scroll down, you'll be able to find, if they have, what community histories they have, what local histories they have, and you can go and research. Many times you can send a request to them if you don't want to go down to Madison and do the search yourself. You can send a request via their email online and ask for something specific, and they many times will send it to you. So again, that is something that you can do. The second one that I had was the collections, and there's a couple things in the collection one that I want to show you. When you go down in the collections, you're gonna, on the left-hand side, you're gonna see something called maps and atlases. And right above it is the local and county histories. So again, those are two things right there that you definitely probably want to pay attention to. But if you click on the maps and the atlases, you're gonna get a page that looks like this. When you scroll down, you're gonna get to a place that says Sanborn Insurance Maps. How many of you are familiar with what those are? No idea, okay.
Can you say it again?
The Sanborn Fire Insurance Maps. When you click on that link, it will take you to this page. What these are maps that were hand-drawn back in the day, and there are maps for the city of Marshall that go back to 1884. I was gonna say 3, but it's 4. And what they will do, they will take a section and expand it so that you can see what type of building, what shape of building was in that particular place. So you go down just a little bit on the page where it says browse the digital maps. You click on it, you type what city you're looking for in that top box, and it has 21 different maps for Marshfield, which is really cool. You'll find bird's eye view maps. A bird's eye view is, again, basically a hand-drawn picture map of the city, but from up high, kind of looking down. You can see the shapes of the houses, you can see the streets, they have them labeled as far as what is Cedar, what is Vine, what is Central, all of those different things. It will also show you if it's a dwelling, or if it's a livery stable, or if it has any type of an oven. Again, they were looking for things that might affect insurance rates. So if it was a livery stable, they might have something to do with horseshoes, again, something to catch fire. A bakery, bakeries were another thing, because they had so many ovens going to, so yeah, a lot of different things. So this is actually a close-up of, I believe it's the 1891 bird's eye view map. And the house that is circled down in the corner is 301 South Cedar. That was when it was first built, that first year of what.
No, that is actually the house that was there before the
Before-
house.
Before the one that was there now.
They moved
Okay.
that house off.
Okay. We can go back to 1884 into the Sanborn Insurance Maps. You can look at the block, and in 1884, where that red arrow is pointing, there is nothing supposedly on that property. If we go into 1887, also nothing there. And then in 1891, we see the shape of the first house. You can go on to 98. Notice that the house is getting a little bit bigger. They seem to be adding sections onto it. 1904, they actually have the bay window off of the living room, which was something that didn't show up earlier. 1912, it looks pretty close to what it was. Again, you can go in and do a print screen, save it, and then just cut that out. So if you want to do a comparison of what that property or what that building looked like over time, you can do that type of thing to see different changes that may have evolved at different times.
Oh, just the map on the wall over there.
That is a bird's eye view map.
That's what I thought, but what year is it?
1883.
Okay.
Okay, so kind of fun things, and I've used this for some of the buildings downtown as they changed. For example, with Jimmy's Cafe, it used to be a hotel at one point in time. And it was one building, and then it was 2 buildings, and, different changes as it moved. Some, because they expanded it different times. So you can really see where these changes and different things by looking at the Sanborn Mills. The other thing that I wanted to show you in this same section is the guide to the Wisconsin newspapers. Madison, in the Historical Society, has an extensive collection of Wisconsin newspapers and even other places as well. But they really highlight the Wisconsin newspapers, and everything is on microfilm. So you can go down, research, but they have a guide as far as what they have. Again, to go into the guide, you can get to it online to see if it's something that maybe you want to go look at or not. This is an example. I went into their table of contents. It's divided by county. I went down to Wood County. It starts on page 330. So I scrolled through. The whole book is online, so you can scroll through it. I got to page 330. Be aware that the little number up in top is not the same number as the page down on the bottom. So you have to look at the page down on the bottom, which is actually the page number in the publication. This is just at the very bottom of that page. Notice Wood County, they had Centralia, Grand Rapids, both, which are, into Wisconsin Rapids. They talk, for Marshfield, they talk about the Marshfield Democrat, which is, one of the newspapers, the Gazette. You go on to the second page, and this is the rest of the newspapers. Now, many of these newspapers, they were individual, but many times they merged together. So you might have two little newspapers and then they merge together and maybe just maintain the name of one of them. So again, you'll have that information. They do have examples of many of these down there that you can go through, pull the microfilm out and scroll through and look at page by page the newspaper from back in the day. Again, when you're trying to find information that might not be available on some of the online sources, this is where you can go find things. The last thing that I want to show you from their website is that last box that was over there that was called Preserve Your Homes and Properties. When you go into that section, all you have to do is type in your address of the property that you're looking for. So I put 301 South Cedar in there, and it pulls up our house.
So that's only if you have a historical house, right?
Not necessarily. Many of these were ones that were parts of intensive surveys that ended up being given, the information being given to Madison, or, somebody, they have information, they have a historic file of newspaper clippings, and I ran across that the other day. And there was a reference to Mr. Rennie, and he was the second postmaster for the city of Marshfield, and he was being interviewed for an article in, I think it was the 1931 Marshfield News Herald. And he was talking about, when he got married, his wife was from Stevens Point. They moved to Marshfield in 1876. Or no, they got married in 1876, moved to Marshfield in 1877. And then that following year in 1877, I believe it was, they built their house on North Depot Street.
North Depot?
West,
No, it's North Depot Street.
West Depot.
It's called North Depot.
It was called North Depot, but it was still
It
on
was,
West
it
Depot
was
Street.
a east and west road, but it was called North Depot, is what it was called.
If you look at early city maps, you had North and South Railroad on the east side of Central and North and South Depot on the west side. And then, I don't remember what year they switched it, but they changed Depot to Depot on both sides and First Street for the South Railroad and South Depot on both sides.
So, yeah, so anyway, Um,
And both of you were right. That's cool.
Yep.
That makes for a happy marriage.
when you find something, if you find a listing, all you have to do is click on the address. The page will come up and it will give you some information about the architecture and the history. Again, another place where you can find. Notice here, if you didn't know who originally lived in the house, it's right there. It's known as, historically, as the Klein Heights house. Mr. Klein Heights was a business owner here in Marshfield. He had a big business down on Central Avenue, right where the railroad tracks are. I want you to pay attention to where it says contributing and it says yes, because we're going to be talking, I'm going to show you how that's important in just a minute. As you scroll down the page, you're going to get more information about the address and the features of the house. Here it says it was built in 1891. There was an addition done in 1904. There was a survey done which included the house in 1993. It's always been a house. The architectural style is Queen Anne. It tells you what type of wall material is made out of, and at that time, probably in 1993 when they did the survey on it, it was the cedar shingles that were on the side. As you scroll down, it will also, the first thing there, it talks about the national and state registers. Even though our house necessarily is not specifically designated on the registry, we are in a historic district. And remember back when I said, where it said contributing, the answer was yes. That means that our house has a history that contributed to that Pleasant Hill district. So for an owner of that house, the advantage is you can use tax credits when you're doing renovations and things to that house. And we took advantage of that when we replaced the roof. So you can save a little bit of money that way. Simply knowing if it's historic and knowing if it was, if it's listed on the register, it needs to be listed on one of the registers or as a contributing building.
Other than restrictions, also because of that? Like you'd have to get like a certain shingle or color or?
They want you to get product, whether shingle, siding, windows, whatever you're replacing, as close to the original as possible. There have been leaps and bounds as far as new products coming out all the time, that they used to say your house originally had, wooden windows type thing. That's what you had to replace it with. They're getting a little bit more flexible on that because a lot of the product looks like wood, but it's not. It's more durable, longer lasting.
So if you have, my son lives at 309 South Cherry. So if he's gonna have to do his roof, he could possibly get a tax credit, you call that?
Yes.
You could,
If he's in a residential historic
right.
district.
He would be in the Pleasant Hill district. The thing that we would have to look to see is, we could look it up, if his house is listed on the website, and if it says that it is a contributing house, he would be eligible then for the tax credits.
And it will, that house is a
Yeah.
complete house.
So, again, something for homeowners to be aware of.
I don't think he knows that.
But Dad's gonna tell him, right? Dad's
Dad's
gonna
gonna
tell him?
tell him.
Most likely.
Okay.
Whether he listens or not.
Was the original owner, or wasn't the client?
No, PJ
No.
Kraus built the house.
Oh,
He
it
built
says the
the
original
house.
owner, so he owned it, or
Right.
built it and sold it essentially to
Yeah.
the client. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
The other thing I want you to pay attention to real quickly, because I know I gotta get going here. It says additional information. There's a site file that's down at the library in Madison with more information than what's here. So again, if you're trying to find information out about a specific house, that would definitely be a place to contact. To see
When's that again, you contact?
Contact the State Historical Society in Madison.
right off of State Street.
Come see definitely Tuesday.
Okay, another site that's just kind of cool, if you're trying to see a picture of a building, is something called Vintage Aerial. And again, you can type in an address. This is a more recent site, but again, you can type in an address. And I happened to type in the address for our farmhouse out by Branton. And there it is. You can see that there's the original farmhouse is off on the right-hand side, and there is a ranch style kind of right smack dab in the center. That's where my brother built his house across the driveway from my mom and dad. At that time, the barn was up. The barn is no longer there. The silos are completely gone. So yeah, you can kind of get an idea of what a farm,
What it looks like in the day.
yeah.
Does your brother still live in the house?
The what?
Does your brother still live in the house?
No, my sister-in-law does. My brother's deceased.
Because that was the old Altenburg house.
Yes,
And that-
actually, the
that's
house
some of my
over on
relation.
the
That's some of my-
right-hand side is the Altenburg house, yeah. And that was where my mom and dad lived. Gail now rents that out to renters. So,
I love that porch.
another site, Bureau of Land Management, you can find out information, if your property was homesteaded. Might be something interesting to find out. And again, the instructions to go there are really good. Another site, if you want to see pictures of things and you don't want to go there, use Google Maps. Because you can kind of see in that little sidebar over here, there's a picture of the front of the house. You can also get a bird's eye view of it. You can kind of zoom in and really find out, and this is all online from Google Maps.
Do you have any idea how often does Google Maps update pictures and things?
You look, there's usually a drop-down box in that square that will tell you what pictures are available. And I would say it's every 4 or 5 years they'll have new images taken. But
This
it
one-
depends on-
This one was done in September of 2008.
Yeah, and if you click on it, it will tell you if there's other pictures available.
So again, a place where you can go find information. The other cool thing is as you move your mouse around, you can actually go all the way around the house, or a lot of it anyway, so you can get different angles. One of the last things that I said that I would spend time with you at is just kind of how to organize all of this information. You're getting it from a lot of different places. You're getting titles, maybe abstracts, you're getting pictures, you're getting letters, you're getting journals, you're getting all kinds of things, newspaper articles. What I did when we were working on the story for the house, and my husband too, it wasn't just me. But we kind of did a chronological timeline. And so I just pulled up like a very simple Excel spreadsheet for titles across for the year, month, and day of, when that article or when the picture was taken or the year or whatever. A little information about what it was, that type of thing, put in the event. And then you can see I started filling it out. One nice thing about Excel, you don't have to put it in order. As you find things, you can add it in there so it's there. And then you can go back through later on and you can sort it by the year and by the date. So we'll put it automatically right in order so you have a chronological history of the things that you have of the sourcing for the house. And from that point, you write your story. So, questions?
Your attention, please. The library will be closing in 20 minutes. All of today's meeting room reservations are now expiring. If you're using one of our meeting rooms, please gather your things and exit the room. If you have materials you would like to borrow, please check them out now. The library will be closing in 20 minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And I know I wanted this to kind of be, not so formal, and we had questions along, so I don't know if there's any other comments, discussion, questions that you might have that I didn't cover.
How long did it take you to get the information out of our conflict? 20 hours or a lifetime? I don't know.
If you look, well,
I mean, obviously you've done a lot of work already by giving us.
you could try and spend, one day looking for everything, but because of all the different places,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get it done at one time. So it's gonna be over a period of time. And again, the more sources you check, the longer it takes.
Is the house in Bradley, does some of your family members still live with that house?
The farmstead, that aerial view,
Yeah.
my sister-in-law lives in the ranch style house
Okay, but
with
how
her
about,
son.
how about that old house?
That's rented out right now.
Oh, so that he still owns it.
My sister-in-law still owns it.
Is that was the old Coltonville house?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
my grandmother's home.
It stayed original for a very long time, probably until about 2015. Yeah, probably about,
Before your mother died, so.
yeah.
They had
it's- we
beautiful
moved-
floors, there were beautiful floors in that house.
Those the living room has the wood underneath the carpeting, but it really was in need of repair. And then there was the linoleum put on the dining room and the kitchen. And I know those were needed to be replaced.
Most of these homes had hardwood floors on top of the subfloor.
Yep.
And many times if you dig down under the carpeting and under the linoleum and the tiles, you'll find it. Sometimes it's beautiful, and sometimes
It
You
needs
can
so
try-
much work.
you can try taking a sander to it, you might get it to look good, and you might not. I know in our house at 301 South Cedar, there were changes made in the living room. The original fireplace was on an angle. It was a corner fireplace. It got moved, so now it's straight along the wall,
Did your house have a trap door to the basement?
No,
not to the basement.
Because my house did. You can see how they reconstructed the joists.
We had a trap door when we moved in that went up into the attic. It was in the middle of our second story floor, and there was no other way to get up there. We now have staircase built in the front bedroom that kind of goes up. Takes up part of the bedroom, but it's a lot easier than trying to put a ladder up and go up that way. Anything else?
I have one comment, because we refer to the house as the Klein Heights house. It really isn't the Klein Heights house. By proper naming for homes, it should be listed as the P.J. Krause house or as the first P.J. Krause house. He lived there for about 3 or 4 years, sold it, and then built up a big house up on West Fifth Street and Wisconsin Avenue, one with big columns there. That was his second P.J. Krause. The Klein Heights has lived in the house that we owned for about 70 years. So, because the State Historical Society had it listed as Klein Heights house when you looked at the papers, I just went with it because it was kind of a nod of the family. First it was Mr. and Mr. Anton, and Mr. and Mrs. Anton Klein Heights, and then their son moved in after he died and stayed there until the second Mrs. Klein Heights died. So they were in there for a long time.
Well, because a lot of the State Historical Society has kind of conflict information, because they call
Yes.
it a Klein house, but then they say P.J. Krause.
It
Right.
really is the P.J. Krause, the
Right.
first P.J. Krause.
And I think what they were looking at, the length of time that somebody had been in it, because the Kleinheitzes were probably in it the longest, and most people knew it as the Kleinheitz house.
And the Historical Society is good for not digging real deep unless someone's there to tell them. And so what they probably had was all the pictures or identifications of the Kleinheitz, and that's what they put on their website.
Speaking of Wisconsin Historical Society, if you don't want to drive all the way down to Madison and you know kind of exactly the date you're looking for in the newspaper and what newspaper it's in, if you have a library card with us, that's what I do. I will interlibrary loan the microfilm and they'll send it here.
And they'll send the microfilm
Yeah.
up here, and then you can use the readers here and look at it, and then
You kind of
Yeah,
have to
we'll
pretty
send it
much
back
know
when
what
we're
you're
done.
looking for though, because they only send a couple months at a time, you know? But yeah, it saves you a trip down there if you kind of know what you're looking for.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I did so many of those too.